Alright, welcome to episode 94 of Adventures in Inbetweening. Today I am looking at some special effects Inbetweening I did back in the late 90s on Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, Pocahontas 2, Journey to a New World, and Winnie the Pooh, A Valentine for You.
Get the letter in time.
Slippery.
My very own one-of-adjustable four-lean high-back skid plate super toe step-in bindings.
Things are not what they appear.
I got it! We gotta go and get another smitten to unsmite him.
Okay, so the thing about special effects is you're not supposed to really notice that they're there. They're just kind of happening in the world, supporting the story and the characters. Now, just technically, you can see there whenever we drop snow, focusing on the groupings and the tones. So we've got the two different colors of the snow there, so we have shadows, make it more three-dimensional. A lot of times I'm going to write HC, that stands for held cell. So that's what happens after something falls to the ground. It becomes its own layer. Here you can see that we're drawing three-dimensional big blocky shapes, like I was saying, with the tones and the regular color on the snow. Just to quickly recount the process. So the character animators would go through and do their roughs, then they do their assisting, then they do the cleanups and in-betweens, and then we would get all the finalized animation, flip through those, put a paper on top of each of those, and draw the effects on them. So I'd be flipping Goofy's drawings here. You can see these pieces falling off of the snow, and cleaning up and in-betweening, assisting the effects on the snow on those drawings as I'm flipping them. You can see the groupings flying off here. It's all about making it so that it's natural looking and that you can easily follow it with the eye. So the audience, again, the audience isn't really supposed to think about, well, that's snow flying off there. It's like, hey, look, the character's doing something funny with the snow. You can see the snow accumulating there as Max is pushing the shovel here. And whenever we had the snow like behind the shovel, we had to overdraw it. So that means basically we would draw too much of the snow and then they would just put that on a layer behind the shovel. Snow continues to change shape as the shovel's moving forward here. And is picking it up here. Snow, boom, goes fast. Quick motion up there with Max. Snow's flying upwards. And again, the character animation is suggesting the trajectory, and then after that, it becomes kind of more abstract, more free. It's like, okay, now we can draw whatever shapes we want, keep the shapes interesting, keep the groupings believable and interesting and natural looking. It's funny because it's a technical job on one hand, and it's an incredibly artistic job on another. In the case like this is a very technical scene, where it's having the spotlight come down and making it look like the spotlight is following the contours of Max and the building. So there's not a ton of creativity in a scene like this, but you still have to make sure that it's appealing and that the shapes are, again, believable, looking like a spotlight. Now here, the snow is all one background, but then we draw these holes on a separate layer and put those onto a layer that the character can be standing in front of and behind. So here the snowboard is dragging through the snow. So this is all faked. This is all just drawn on top of this background. If we took off this hole in the snow, you'd just see a clear, pristine snow background there. Flicking up and off. And yeah, again, just to help make the character feel like they're in the world, interacting with the world. Again, more held cells there as those pieces fall down. Here we've got the plowed snow coming towards us, tumbling in a cycle. I think it was an 8-drawing cycle as I vaguely remember it. Snow's animating on 2s. We're dollying in on 1s here. You can see as the snow gets closer to the camera, it gets thicker lines because we're actually getting closer to the artwork. The snow on the silhouette there is tumbling forward. Those tones that we're drawing on there, the tone shape changes as it gets pushed forward, and it's going to combine with the other tones. You can see these two different frames here as I'm going to go back and forth between them. You can see how the tones combine, and it's not something that we're meant to see. It's just meant to add to the believability and realism as much as we can of the scene. Yeah, obviously it's a cartoon, it's not realistic, it's more believable, but we want it to reflect real world physics. Individual pieces get more important as they get more sparse. So a lot of times we can just kind of animate things more abstractly, but when you have small pieces moving, you have to be really careful to make sure we get each piece. Moving on to Pocahontas 2 here from, that was Mickey's Christmas. It's all about tones and highlights here. So again, we're given these character drawings from the character department, flipping through them, putting a page on top of each character drawing, figuring out where the tones and the highlights are going to go. And this is the light source is coming from below here. So, you know, like on Halloween, you shine a flashlight below your chin and it makes you look all spooky. That's the idea here. These characters, they're smiling, they're pretending to be nice, but they're up to no good. So we want to show that with the lighting and demonstrate that. Whenever you've got a fast motion like this, boom, that means you can basically, you don't really have to flip the tones and highlights too much, because when there's a large motion, we're not too worried about the in-betweens. Pocahontas here out in nature, finally revealing herself as she is. Leaves are going to fly in here. Different shapes from different trees, so we get more variety in shape there. And we've got this here, again, it can't be like snow where it's just, oh, we're just drawing different shapes. Each tree leaf is going to be, oh, well, this is an oak leaf, this is a whatever type of leaf. So we have to make sure that those leaves are tracking clearly, and that we've got some nice groupings there, so we have some space between the leaves. Here's one group, here's another group, so it doesn't just like a constant, unending flow that would be hard to track with the eyes. And then there's a second grouping coming in. Underneath from the bottom left there, there's the path and perspective that the leaves are following. Again, it's all to support the character animation, this feeling of nature. Moving on to the Pooh's Valentine special here, there wasn't a lot of effects in this because you can see there's no shadows on the ground, there's no tones on Pooh. Based on the light source of the background there, where the light's coming up from the top left, it'd be the sunlight, we didn't have any tones on Pooh, but we could still do impact dust. So we still want to make sure that, okay, when they're hitting the ground, there's still dust being kicked up. And you can see the dust is very blurred here. We're panning with Tigger as he's knocking over Pooh here. And in this case here, it's just about, and it's funny because when we do these drawings, we're so meticulous. Put that line down, make sure it has beautiful line quality, make sure it's really close. And when it gets all blurred out, you barely see it. But the intention was there, and it does look very flowy and clean. And that's generally what you want from effects. Again, the effects shouldn't be gaining attention to themselves. They should be helping support what's going on in the scene. So here we finally have a highlight on Pooh because it's dark out, because we have a bright light source with the little firefly bug here. And when it gets closer to Pooh, you see that the light is going to become bigger. It's going to cover more of his body. It's a very localized light source. This isn't a big spotlight. This is just something that only gives off light for a few feet at a time. And so Pooh's moving around there. Every one of those drawings needs to be drawn. And then as the light goes away, the firefly goes away, the light's going to quickly recede off and be gone. And that's just a few shows that I worked on with special effects assisting back in the mid to late 90s. Yeah, it was good training, especially technically. It got a lot of drawings out of me, and it was a good start to my career. So thanks for checking it out, and yeah, appreciate it. It's fun to revisit this stuff. I'll see you next time.